Good evening, everybody. Weren't we just here a few days ago? Thanks for coming again tonight. I'm Lorraine Zamora. And this night has a lot of moving parts and is a little different from any other meeting we've ever had, even our endorsement meetings. So what you should know straight off is that the ballot box will not be open until we've heard from all the candidates who are speaking tonight. And the ballot box will not close until every eligible club member in the room has had a chance to vote, whenever those times are. I think we'll be probably... Alan, what? Did I say it wrong? The ballot box is going to be open until everybody who is here in the room has had a chance to vote, whatever time they come in. Or sooner. Yes. No, I do not have to do that. Alan, please, sit down and enjoy the meeting. Okay. Last Wednesday, we voted to endorse Michael Lasher for State Assembly, and then we heard from some of the congressional and Senate candidates. So on the ballot tonight, it's a 2-page ballot. Shh. It's a 2-page ballot. On the ballot tonight for our endorsement are Adriano Espaillat, Jerry Nadler, Cordell Clear, and Brad Hoylman-Siegel. Some of them were here last week to speak, and you will be endorsing them tonight. Now, I believe they're running unopposed. I think all of our candidates tonight are running unopposed, but I especially am mentioning it above the congressional. You're going to have to keep your voices down in the back, sorry. I am interested in knowing if there's anybody here who would like to speak in support of any of the congressional or Senate candidates. As I say, they're running unopposed, so I don't think it's necessary, but I want to just put it out there. Okay. So in addition, tonight, we'll be hearing from candidates for Civil Court Judge, District Leader, Democratic State Committee, and judicial delegates. And their names are on the ballot for endorsement tonight. So you have two, right? You should have a yellow page and a green page. 2 ballots. On the green page, you vote for the congressional or state Senate candidate. On the yellow page, you're voting for the judicial delegates, civil court, and civil court candidates. Right? Okay, you all got those two? Great. We're in business. Okay. So I'm repeating again at my own risk. The ballot box will open as soon as we've heard from our last speaker. And the ballot box will close as soon as we know that every club member in the room who has attended has voted. I don't think I can say it better than that. Okay, so, is Dan Cohen here yet? Dan Cohen's going to be in charge of counting the votes. Teresa can't be because she's up for district leader, but Dan will be choosing a group of people to count the votes. And we'll get through that as quickly as we can. Okay, so now, whose phone is on? Now at 7:40, we are going to start hearing from the candidates for civil court judge, and they each will have 5 minutes to speak. Is Allison Greenfield here? Allison's not here? Okay. Is Louis Knock here? Okay. This is going to be a fast meeting. Is Malika Scott McLaughlin here? Well, I am so happy to introduce you to Ralph Wolf. It is all yours.
Thank you very much. Use that? Yeah. Great. Good evening. Thank you for welcoming me here at Three Parks Independent Democrats. I'm happy to be here. I appreciate getting to know you, and I appreciate your support. Like my colleagues, I'm running unopposed here in the 5th. It's a little bit more personal, I think, because the 5th is where we live. It's our neighborhood. And I'm going to represent you and our community. I take it quite seriously. I didn't become a lawyer till I was 41. I became a lawyer so I could do this, so I could provide access to justice for people. I've been working for the court system for my entire legal career, almost 10 years in the family court. Today I work in the Office for Justice Initiatives, which is part of the Office of Court Administration, and I help support and build access to justice programs around the state. Being a judge is, for me, the pinnacle of providing access to justice, and I want you to know that I'll take that very seriously. The civil court judge has jurisdiction for cases up to $50,000. So if the filing has $50,000 or less, that'll go to a civil court judge. I don't know if people, how much people know about the court system. Usually, the first 2 or 3 years, a civil court judge is assigned to family court or to criminal court. Are there any questions? Yes. The question is, what has my trial experience been? Very limited. Pardon me. As a court attorney, it depends how you look at it. I have a lot of trial experience on the judge side of the bench. I do not have a lot of trial experience on the litigant side. That said, one of my first access to justice programs that I was able to be involved in was in the Bronx County Family Court. I helped start the volunteer lawyer program there. I helped thousands of pro se litigants. They would come to the office, I would interview them and find out what issues were important to them, and then I would let the volunteer lawyers, usually from big law firms who were there for the day, give the legal advice, because as a court employee, I can't do that. Recently, I helped somebody in a volunteer situation get relief from $1,217 of credit card debt. So I do volunteer, I do pro bono work, and that's on the litigant side of the bench as well. Yeah. It wasn't a trial. The third-party witness didn't show up, so it was dismissed with prejudice, right? Now, $1,217 might not sound like a lot to you, but to the person I was representing, it was everything. Okay, so I have some trial experience on that side of the bench. I don't want to take up time, but yes. Sure. I'm Ralph L. Wolf, and I'm running for civil court, as far as we know, unopposed here in the 5th Judicial Municipal District. Thank you very much, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, Ralph. Okay. Oh, you know, there's a full moon tonight, folks. I know there is. Now we're going to hear from State Committee, male and female. Is Lynn Thomas here? Boy, we're doing pretty good today. Pardon? Some judges just walked in. Great, 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 great. Okay, come on up to the front. Hi, are you Allison?
I'm Allison.
Ah, and are you Malika? Oh, terrific. Please sit down. And is that Louis? You're all here. We're just going in reverse order, that's all. Okay. Allison, my pleasure to introduce you as a candidate for civil court judge. 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Is that inclusive of questions? We'll work it out. Hi, I am Allison Greenfield, and I am running for one of 2 open county-wide civil court seats. I came to this city at 16 years old because I was living in a place that did not represent the values that I believed in. So I did something about it. I graduated high school early, I took extra classes, I studied around the clock, and I did high school in 3 years to essentially emancipate myself and get here. I went to NYU for college, where I studied economics and political science. After NYU, I went to Cardozo Law School. When I graduated Cardozo, I wanted to work in the public sector, but you may recall that we had a little bit of a hiring freeze during our last big legal recession. So I went into the private sector for a couple years. I gained my chops. I got experience litigating in all 5 boroughs, but I still really felt the call of public service. So I ended up quitting my job in the private sector, taking a contract position litigating in the special litigation unit of the City of New York's Tort Defense Department. For those of you who don't know, a contract position with the city is a full-time position with no health insurance. But I went on Obamacare, which was excellent and accessible to me, which we're so grateful for. And after a little more than 5 years litigating with the city, I had the most incredible opportunity to become the principal law clerk to Justice Arthur Engoron, which I have been doing for the last 5 years. That has been the most incredible, the most rewarding experience of my life. I am humbled and grateful every day for the responsibility that he has entrusted in with me. And I think that my experiences as a litigator in the private sector, in the public sector for the City of New York, and now for the last 5 years as a principal law clerk to Justice Arthur Engoron have really rendered me capable of being able to hit the ground running for this next step. So I would love to ask for your support. It would mean so much to me. And with that, I think I'm a little shy of 5 minutes, so if you have any questions, I would love to entertain them. Okay, thank you so much.
You did good. You did good. Thank you. So now, Louis, are you a Louis or Lou?
Lou for my friends, so everybody in this room, I'm Lou too.
Welcome to Three Parks.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been here in the past, and I see great. Oh, I'm sorry. And I see all friendly faces, Democrats in a room. There's nothing better than that. I'm Lou Knock. I think a lot of you know me, and I am running for re-election to civil court. I had the great privilege of being elected to the civil court in this great county 10 years ago. I can't believe it's been 10 years, and it has been my privilege to serve on a variety of courts since that time. I began in criminal court, then civil, and I've had the great privilege of serving as an acting Supreme Court justice since 2018. My judicial philosophies, I have lots of them, but I'd like to tell you 2 of them right now. And that is, whenever a party appears before me, I view that party, represented or unrepresented, as the tip of the iceberg of hundreds, if not thousands, of other persons similarly situated. And when I think about that, I think about how important it is that I render decisions based on the law, based on equity, based on fairness and the dignity of humankind. And that is something that never escapes me whenever any party comes before me. It's not just that case. It's many, many of our neighbors here in the county of New York. And there's another philosophy I'd like to tell you about. Any judge that thinks that he or she knows it all is in the wrong business. You have to be able to learn from each other. The bench can't do it alone. We need the bar. We need folks like yourselves that are civic-minded in your judicial selection. We need each other, ladies and gentlemen. I think that is a hallmark of the Democratic Party. And I have tried to imbue Democratic Party ideals and values into every decision I make. And I pledge to you that if I am privileged to earn your support for another 10 years on this wonderful bench, I will continue to make decisions based on equity, based on fairness and compassion, in the light of our Democratic Party ideals. I am proud and privileged to report to you that I'm a recipient of President Obama's Silver Volunteer Service Award for years of pro bono service. I say that not, folks, to brag, but I say that to tell you I am in unity with you in the principles that we adhere to and cherish in this Democratic Party. Ladies and gentlemen, I would be honored by your support. I was unanimously approved by County Committee a week and a half ago, and I hope to continue this important work. Thank you very, very much.
Any questions for Lou?
No questions.
All right.
Pardon me, sir? I hope so. Yes. Yes, sir. Oh, Alfred. I'm on the Supreme Court since 2018. I'm admitted to the U.S. Supreme Court, and I've submitted briefs to the U.S. Supreme Court as a private practice attorney for over 25 years, by the way. I was in private practice before I was elected to the bench. Yes, ma'am.
What's your favorite case that you've adjudicated, and what's your least favorite case that you've adjudicated?
My favorite case, thank you for the question. I love that question. My favorite case was a case I issued, a decision I issued a number of years ago, and it was People versus Gonzalez. And what had happened was Julio Gonzalez had come to this country with his family from the Dominican Republic, and 17 years earlier, he was picked up on a minor possession offense, a marijuana possession offense. And when he came before the criminal court at that time, 17 years ago, someone convinced him to plead guilty to that offense. 17 years later, he was stopped on the first vacation he ever took. Okay, this was a hardworking man with a family here in the United States. The first vacation he ever took at the Canadian border, he was stopped. They had him in their computer system as having pled guilty to that 17 years earlier, and ICE wanted to deport him, rip him away from his family, and sent him back to the Dominican Republic because of something he had pled guilty to 17 years earlier. His attorney appeared before me and made a motion to try to vacate that conviction from 17 years earlier. It was not an easy task, but I was able, with the application of hard work, of research, of many, many hours, I was able to issue a decision in that case that vacated that conviction 17 years earlier. It was published in the New York Law Journal, and that, ma'am, is my favorite case because I was able to keep that family together, hardworking, wonderful family, making a new life in this country, and I said, I'll be damned if I'm going to allow that to happen. Next case, okay, I had a case involving a defendant who was picked up for having a gravity knife. Now, folks, if you don't know what a gravity knife is, it's another generation of what a switchblade is. thousands upon thousands of innocent construction workers keep that in their back pocket so that they can work with one hand with the knife. NYPD was picking up these folks, mainly people of color, mainly immigrants, innocently going to work, but because a police officer in the subway saw someone with that knife, picked up, they plead guilty, it's a misdemeanor, it ruins their lives, and all they were doing was going to work. Now that law against gravity knives was put into effect by the legislature in 1958. I said, I'll be damned if I'm going to let these people be picked up and prosecuted for just going to their jobs. So I went to my law school. You heard Allison mention Cardozo Law School. Yay, Cardozo. I'm also an alum. Law Review, 1990. And what I did was I went to the library. I did research on that law with the legislative history. And I said, I'm going to write a decision that says that that law is unconstitutional. I won't bore you with the legal mumbo-jumbo of that, but I really worked hard to try to get it done. But unfortunately, that analysis did not pan out, and I was simply unable to render a decision saying it was unconstitutional. What I did, though, was, at the end of my decision, I said it's up to the legislature. I said there's so much a judge can do. A judge is charged with applying the law as the legislature enacts it. And what we do is our darndest is to try to apply that law in a manner that fits with the goal that we'd like to do. If we can't do that, we must appeal to the legislature. So I would have to say that would be the second case. And that, folks, are my few words, and thank you so much for the opportunity. It's great being with great Democrats. Thank you so much.
Ain't that the truth? Malika Scott McLaughlin, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Malika Scott McLaughlin. I'm the third countywide candidate this year for one of the two open seats. Allison and I have those two open seats presently. Thank you very much for having me. A little bit about my background. I'm currently a housing court judge sitting in Bronx County. I spent the past 5 years as a housing court judge, and I really enjoyed the work. I'd love a chance to serve in civil court. I first began graduating from college at Sarah Lawrence College. After college, I worked at a law firm, Skadden Arps, for about 2 years, where I saw massive scale litigation that was rooms and rooms of boxes and documents and whole armies of lawyers on litigation. I then saw corporate practice on a massive scale, oil energy deals being financed by 40 banks to finance an oil rig in the Middle East, and I'd never seen massive corporate practice either, so those are both very eye-opening for me. After that, I got into law school at Pace University School of Law. During law school, I was a summer associate at Buchanan, Ingersoll, and Rooney for 2 summers. Upon finishing law school, the mortgage crisis happened, and everyone's world went on fire. Bear Stearns collapsed, Merrill Lynch went up in flames, all of these institutions just went poof, and the mortgage crisis occurred. So I got a chance to be a court attorney in housing court, where I served until becoming a housing court judge in 2019. As a housing court judge, I've handled high-volume court calendars, cases with pro se litigants, and litigants who have counsel. In my courtroom, I make sure everyone is treated with respect and dignity so they can feel the court is hearing their point of view. Court is not a very warm, fuzzy place. It can feel very cold, be very scary. It's a large building you're coming into. There are officers. There's this very large bench and some person who you don't know in a black robe who is deciding your fate. And you have no idea who they are, where they come from, what's their background, what do they think. You have no clue. But here you are as a litigant in that room. And that's very nerve-wracking, whether you have counsel or not. It's still very scary. And so I try to make litigants at least feel somewhat comfortable, make it feel a little less scary, so you can tell me your story, give me the facts I need so I can apply them to the law accordingly. I'm also the daughter of civil rights lawyers. I grew up watching my dad, Randolph Scott McLaughlin, handle KKK cases. There was one when I was a kid, actually, where there were 5 elderly black women who were shot in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and my father was their lawyer. And there's not been a Klan shooting since that in the 80s at all in that particular town. It's one of the few cases on the books about suing the KKK that actually went all the way to verdict and was successful. When I was in high school, I watched my mom stand up for a young black male high school student who was assaulted on campus by youth members of the Klan who were going through the initiation process. My mother was that young man's lawyer, and I was in high school. So this wasn't that far from my own personal life, so I saw firsthand how important the judiciary is, how important judges are in helping move us forward as a society in general. My parents did public service work most of their career. I continued their work first as a court attorney, then as a housing court judge, and I hope to serve as a civil court judge. I'm also a mommy, a single mommy of 2 little girls that are 6 and 8, who I'm raising in Harlem, and my oldest one is disabled. So I'm familiar with all kinds of people from all walks of life in my 14 years in the court system. All kinds of family compositions, all different kinds of income, able-bodiedness, different kinds of language, different kinds of chronic illnesses. I've seen so many kinds of people during my time in the court system. I'm also part of the PTA. I'm one of the leaders of my PTA for my girls' schools, and I hope to make my girls proud of me. And they can learn and know that with hard work and determination, they can be anything they want to be in this world. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, we're letting you get away. Thank you very much. Now on to State Committee. And I don't think Lynn Thomas is with us, right? No. But Doug Kellner is. So Doug, your 5 minutes of fame.
I'm going to do it faster, I hope. So many of you probably serve on the county committee, and you understand that the county committee meets every 2 years, but becomes important when a vacancy opens up. The state committee is similar. It meets 3 times a year. It nominates the candidates for statewide office. So just last week, they nominated Kristen Gillibrand to be reelected to the U.S. Senate. And they appoint the Democratic representatives from New York to the Democratic National Committee. So it has technical party functions and really only becomes important in the rare instances where there are contested statewide issues and the state committee decides who can get on the ballot without having to petition. That being aside, I hope to follow in the shoes of my predecessor, Dan Cohen, and working closely with Lynn Thomas to help build the party on the West Side, working with all 3 clubs from our assembly district, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Any questions for Doug? Don't go away. Mary?
Your dearest.
Oh,
You want to ask that again, maybe?
sorry. Do I have to do this? Wait for me. Go ahead. Okay. Doug, what's your position on the state chair, who has been very controversial?
I'm not sure how controversial, or whether it's a manufactured crisis. I think that, first of all, the governor is the leader of our party. And yes, the governor is more conservative than we West Siders would want. And yet she did win the election and has to lead the state. And so I think the most important thing is to defer to the governor's choice for the state committee, which has been Jay Jacobs. Now, has Jay Jacobs been flawless as a state committee, as the state chair? No. Especially the very disappointing results in 2022, not just in his own county, where he's the Nassau County leader, but upstate. And I do think that it's very important for the state party leadership to really take a much more active role in building up a strong Democratic bench upstate, outside New York City and the suburbs, which did happen 20 years ago under the leadership of Judith Hope, and it was also a priority when Hillary Clinton was our senator. So there's more that can be done, but on the other hand, as co-chair of the State Board of Elections for 18 years, I worked very closely with Jay, and I found him to be very reasonable and very open to the progressive ideas that many people were pushing to improve the election process in New York, which he supported completely.
I think Alex?
Yes. Okay. I would say the average age of our club member here is about 70, okay? What is the party and what is your opinion on getting the younger voters to get more involved? Many of them get registered, but they don't vote. So you might have 100 people registered, and maybe 10 of them will vote in an election, and they only show up for the 4-year, the presidential, but they don't do the local elections. So what can you do?
I'm with you on that, and indeed, I feel the same way about running for this position, that if there were a younger person who was eager to do it, I would gladly step aside. And Landon Wickoff was seriously considering this for a while, and I think he would have made a great state committee member. But when he stepped aside, the leaders came to me and said, "Will I do it?" And I will, but I'll tell you, I would much rather have somebody much younger take on that mantle. Yes, if Landon wanted it, I would step aside. Right.
Sir? Yeah.
I think we all agree that that should be a club priority, and we should all work towards that end.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. Good having you with us. Very okay. Very okay. Now, for our judicial delegates. Adafi, what? Yeah? Is does it have to do with what we're talking about?
About young people.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm 33 years old, so if the average age is 70, I'm less than half of the average age. And I've been coming to the club for quite some time now. And I think that when we think about attracting young people, sometimes people tend to be afraid because they feel like it will not be inclusive of them. But I felt included in this group and participated. I think the way we do outreach matters. So if we're trying to reach younger people, the club have to use the medium in which we can use to find those people. And traditionally, the medium we have been using is website and email, and younger people are through social media. So if you want a volunteer, I can volunteer to operate the club's social media to attract younger people in this area.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we're going to be voting for judicial delegates. If you would all step up here to the front, there are 11 of you. You will each have a minute to speak. Those 6 of you with the highest votes will be JDs. The other 5 will be alternates. I believe I got that right. Close enough. So come on up, guys. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Why am I only getting 10? Who am I missing?
Something for my brain yesterday.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Doug.
With Alan, I have 10.
Doug. I don't see Doug. Whalen? Young guy.
Doug Whalen. That's right. Doug Whalen is not here. Okay, very good, Aaron. Okay, you want to?
Oh, hello, good evening. I'm glad everybody's here. I'm Stephanie Tegnasian. I've been a member of the club for a minimum 30 years. I'd like to read a little note to you that our darling departed wife of Ted Weiss wrote so that I could go around my building and do the petitioning and placing of hole cards. To whom it may concern, now this was on Sonia Hoover Weiss's letterhead. Please allow Stephanie Tegnasian to distribute the primary election results from September and this residents of the building. Traditionally, this has been done over the past 25 years. I think it's important that the posters resume. Sincerely, Sonia Hoover Weiss, October 10th, 1998. Now, I've got another letter. I'm not going to bore you because I know my time's limited, but that one is from when Dan Cohen was president of this august body.
I just got such a letter.
Did you just get my reply? No, Dan, I have it right here.
Oh, man.
You want to read it? I'll give it to you later. Anyway, I'm running for judicial delegate. I get to know some of the judges personally. I get to visit in their courtrooms. The last one I visited was Supreme Court Justice Deborah James, who we all helped get elected. Hers was a very interesting trial. It was a Thursday. I learned more about the anus than anyone ever wants to know. So, because of this work that I do that way, more than volunteering for any campaign, although I have volunteered for a few along the way, this is my main thrust, is being a judicial representative from this club. So please check the box, Stephanie Tegnasian. Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name's Aaron Mendelson. I have lived in Manhattan Valley for the past 15 years with my wife and 3 children. I've been a member of 3 parks for the past about 4 years and a judicial delegate for the past 2 terms. I am a lawyer, a lifelong Democrat and public servant, and I have been a community organizer and involved in politics since the Clinton-Gore campaign in 1996. Critically, for the role of a judicial delegate, I served as a federal prosecutor for more than 10 years, where I appeared before 100 or so federal, state, and local judges. I currently serve as the director of the New York City Council's Oversight and Investigations Division, where I work closely with Councilmember Gail Brewer, Speaker Adrian Adams, and many leaders inside the council and across the city. And finally, I just want to thank Lorraine and Dan and a lot of you for welcoming me, a relatively younger person, with open arms into Three Parks. And I also want to thank Elizabeth, Deborah, Alan, Josh, and the other judicial delegates for teaching me about the process over the past 2 terms. And I just want to thank you all for considering me to be one of your judicial delegates this coming term. Thanks.
Thanks, Aaron. Grow old with us.
Let me take that one. Is it on?
Yes. Elaine? Yeah.
Hi. Hi, folks. I'm Elaine Hazard, and I've been member of Three Parks since the Hillary campaign and around there. I've been a judicial delegate since about 2019. And a delegate and alternate, as I usually get bumped up to a delegate because somebody doesn't show up when that happens. I want to tell you a little about my education. I've got 2 law degrees, one from University of San Diego, that was my JD. I got an LLM from Boston University. I have been admitted to 4 states and the Supreme Court and a lot of federal courts. I have practiced civil and criminal litigation, trial work. I've taught law to undergraduates and graduate students, and I've been an arbitrator for the state of Hawaii. I'd like to tell you I really enjoy petitioning for the club. That's one of the things that I enjoy, the immediate contact with the public to do that. And on some occasions I've done a lot of petitioning. And this year, because Cynthia was so, Cynthia Doty, who we all know here, had done so much petitioning, my idea is to do a petitioning of at least 100 signatures in her memory. And I hope that other people would want to also do this. It's not something you really have to sign up for, but it's in her memory. I think that would be the nicest thing to do. So I'm very...
Elaine, thank you. Your minute's up, I'm sorry to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tony Zach. I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV, but I have sometimes been mistaken for an attorney, which I consider flattering. Again, my name is Tony Zach. Let me tell you a little bit about my approach to the judicial system, which is, I think, unusual. I've served as a petit juror on several federal and New York County criminal trials. I've served as a New York County grand jury juror twice and appeared as a grand jury witness once. The qualities I look for in a judge include the following: analytical skills, attention to detail, communication skills, critical thinking skills, and decision-making skills. Now let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a longtime Upper West Sider, having resided in zip code 10025 since 1953, and lived in the same building since 1992, where I live with my wife and where we raised our 3 children. I've been a registered Democrat since 1966. I voted for the first election when Bobby Kennedy started getting a toehold in New York State politics for the Silverman campaign as a probate court judge. I was elected twice to the New York County Democratic Committee, once in the early 70s and again last year. I'm now retired and I worked since the early 1970s in mainframe computers. I've been a member.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sue Maderer, and I've lived on the Upper West Side for over 40 years. What? Name? Sue Maderer. Oh, I'm sorry. I've lived on the Upper West Side for over 40 years. I spent most of my life in the garment industry, then working with lawyers as a bookkeeper and office manager. I'm on the county committee. I volunteer with the New York City Ballet and Bloomingdale Aging in Place. And I was an alternate last year and enjoyed the experience, and I'd like to continue. Thank you.
Perfect.
Elizabeth Kellner, I'll be 72 on Saturday, keeping with... And I've been married to Doug Kellner for 50 years next month. Vote for me, please. No. That's right. No. I'm a retired attorney. I graduated from Columbia Law School. I also have a master's in public health from Columbia. I chair the board of a not-for-profit healthcare agency that has clinics all over the city serving low-income people. Doug has an active private litigation practice for 40 years now, so I follow the courts very closely. I had my own cases in the courts when I was in-house counsel and also at a law firm. I value a wide variety of legal experience. I think private practice is important. I think having represented clients is important. Service in the judiciary, public service. I think no one thing is mandatory and nothing should be disqualifying. And I do pledge to my fellow delegates from this club as well as from all of us that at all times during this process, I will be civil and I will talk to you and I will be well behaved at the convention and I will let you know what I'm thinking and I will tell you who I am supporting and I want to be collegial at this process because that's how you learn. It's not, none of us are stars and all of us can benefit from learning from one another.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Good evening. My name is Alfred Placeris. I'm an attorney. This is a picture of me when I was young and has most of the information. I've been a judicial delegate over the years, going back to 1982 from Three Parks when we elected Judge Bruce Wright. I'm a graduate at the University of Pennsylvania Law School. I worked for Harlem Legal Services, and I had my law office on 104th and Broadway, second floor over what is now City MD for 30 years, concentrating on immigration law. What I want to add that's not on here is that I've been living in this neighborhood since 1953. When I was 4 years old, my family came from Cuba, and we lived on 102nd and Central Park. I'm in my 5th apartment in the same building. I'm rent stabilized, and I have a Central Park view. So I'm good. I'm not going anywhere. What I want to add is that my parents opened up a restaurant on 97th in Amsterdam back in the 60s, which is still there. Now it's called Malecón. But before it was Malecón, it was Caribe, which was before it was Malecón, it was Casildas, which is Dominican. It's Dominican now. Before Casilda, it was Caribe, which was Cuban. Before that, it was Muralla China, which was Cuban Chinese, and we sold it to them. When we had it, it was Siboney, and that wasn't Holy Name. So that's how far back I go. So, and my sister was principal in 191. So my family and my wife and son is here, and my wife is my advisor because she's a retired court interpreter. And if anybody knows the judges, who's good, who's bad, who treats it's the interpreters. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Deborah Thomas.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Thomas. I have been a member of Three Parks for about 20 years now, since 2004. I've been an Upper West Sider for 40 years, and just a bit of trivia, today is my 45th anniversary of coming to New York. I came on February 21st, 1979. In Three Parks, I have been active in several things: campaigning, tabling, petitioning, working at the Hillary and Obama storefronts, tabling for President Biden when he was running for president, fighting for Social Security, and for several other things. And I'm also a member of the New York Democratic County Committee for almost as long as I've been in the club. Outside of politics, I am an opera singer. I also was a music and theater teacher for several years in New York City public schools. I am an animal lover, an animal advocate. I fight for and support animal rights and animal welfare. I'm a volunteer at the New York City Animal Care Centers, where I work I volunteer in the cat adoption department, helping people find their perfect cat. So if you need a cat, come on over. And I would be very honored to be elected. Oh, and I've been a judicial delegate twice. I would be very honored to be elected again. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.
Josh?
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Josh Pepper. I've been a member of this club for more than 20 years. I've been practicing law for 24 years. I've been a judicial delegate many times during that time. So I thank you for your support.
Wow. Thank you.
There you go, Josh.
And here we go, Alan Flax.
I find this microphone dulls it and I have a bad voice. It makes it even worse. It is? Thank you, Stephanie. Alan Flax. I've been, over the years, a judicial delegate from this club many times. I'm acquainted with the candidates. I have observed them in their courtroom. I have read their decisions, both in the Law Journal and in the official reports. I have seen them in action. I've also talked to litigators who have appeared before judges, sometimes hanging outside a courtroom asking, as they came out, what do you think of the judge? How did the judge handle your case? Temperament on the bench is very, very important, and that's what I pay attention to. Take a look at my flyer. Look at the back of it, and you see what people have to say about me. Vote for me, you would not be disappointed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. You have heard from all of our candidates. You're not a candidate. I'm
No.
going to open the ballot box.
Yes.
Dan?
Yeah, so I guess, Madam President, I believe the...
Can you...
Oh, no, she's going to do her
can you
thing
just
first.
step over here for a second?
Stepping over.
Those district leaders, you know, I mean, they're so pushy.
Very.
Okay, the ballot box
Is open? Let's go.
is now open.
Separate.
Okay, now
Okay.
Dan.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm still Dan Cohen. I thought that was very moving, seeing all those folks get up and give their 1-minute speech. Can we have a round of applause for all the judicial delegates for getting up and doing that? It takes a little bit of courage. I mean, Lane's got 2 law degrees, Alfredo came from Cuba, and Stephanie's got incriminating evidence against me. So this is really quite an interesting evening. You know, Deborah sings opera. I bet you learned something this evening about your fellow club members. A couple of things. So petitioning is going to start very soon. Legally, it starts on Tuesday the 27th. We are going to have a bunch of activities. There'll be tabling. There'll be, I think there's a pizza party in the works. There's also some of the candidates that we endorsed last week have events coming up, and I know that, Teresa's going to talk about that. There's also sign-in sheets. Lynn Max in the back has got 2 clipboards and pens if you'd like to sign up for petitioning. Certainly don't need to sign up right this second, but we'd love to have you join us if you can. There'll be a lot of opportunities, and there'll be email blasts about all of the things we have going on for petitioning. It's one of the big things that the club does, is it does petitioning to help get candidates on the ballot. It's one of the things that we are actually well known for, and I'll say quietly that we get more signatures than the other 2 clubs, sometimes combined. I'm going to defer to my colleague, Teresa Kennedy.
Okay, you can hear me, right? Okay. Well, it's our job as a Democratic club to endorse the most qualified candidate, but it doesn't stop there. We have to go ahead and do petitioning and work for them and make sure that they are elected in the coming primary. So as Dan said, we're going to be sending out some emails, but we have a list that we're passing around to sign up because I want to start on Friday. Now, Saturday is the big kickoff day, and I know our endorsed candidate for Assembly, Michael Lasher, is going to have a pizza kickoff from 11 to 1 at 875 West End Avenue. Then at 1 o'clock, all of his volunteers, including 3 parks, will fan out in the neighborhood and start collecting signatures. We will also have a table or two starting most likely at 1 o'clock on Broadway. So we hope you're there. But I want to get started on Friday at the Farmers Market. That's a great place to get some signatures. So I would also like to have a group meet me there. And we won't necessarily have a table, but let's greet all of the shoppers and get some signatures. Does that, good idea. What time should we start? 10-ish, 9-ish? Let's say 10 and at least see if we can get to 1 o'clock, okay? Or you can come. You want to come at 8, Sue? Oh, I thought it ended at 2 p.m. Yeah, okay. Sue will start at 8. We will send out an email, but I'm thinking more about 10 to 1 or 2. But please sign the list going around. Let me know if you want to do Friday or you're looking at Saturday, okay? Any questions? Elizabeth? Yeah, we have 2 congressional districts. Yes. And 2 state senate districts. That's correct. That's correct. We will have a different omnibus petitions. Okay, so that's just something people need to keep in mind as they petition. That's correct. And I don't know if Governor Nadler is always the same and Clear Espaillat is always the same. We will try and make it as simple as possible, even though I know it's complicated, and we will have maps to go along with the petitioning packets. Okay? Any other questions?
All right, so with that, please vote if you haven't already, and as soon as the last person has voted, the ballot box will be closed. So take a moment now if you haven't voted, and please do so.
Friends and neighbors, petitioning on Broadway, March 2nd, Saturday, the southwest corner of Broadway and 104th Street, starting at 1 o'clock. We'll have a petition table there. Petitions will be there, so come by then.
Okay, so just sit tight while people vote. Dan will then count the votes, and we'll announce the results.